You're not buying her like cattle." Logan Harrison's voice ripped through the crowd like thunder. His hand slammed 3 months, wages onto the auctioneer's table. Silver coins jumping across wood polished smooth by years of cruelty. Hannah Williams stood frozen on the auction block. At 55, her body trembled, not from fear, but from disbelief. No one had defended her in decades. Not once. Not when she worked herself raw. Not when she was passed from house to house like a worn tool. Not when she became invisible. The whispers had started before dawn in Riverside, California, in the summer of 1885. They said Hannah Williams was too old to be worth keeping. Too weathered to deserve kindness. Too used up to belong anywhere again. Her nephew Jacob had brought her here after his wife demanded it. One less mouth to feed during the drought. One less burden. The sun burned white and merciless overhead. Hannah's bare feet scorched against the wooden platform, but she did not flinch. She had survived 55 years of being unseen. She would survive this too. The auctioneer called her name with open disgust. Hannah Williams, 55 years old. Still strong enough for laundry and cooking. Laughter rolled through the crowd like poison. Someone shouted that she would eat more than she was worth. Another voice called her useless. Then Logan stepped forward. He was young, maybe 30. His clothes were worn thin by trails and dust. His boots were cracked, but his storm gray eyes locked onto Hannah, like she was the only soul breathing in the square. "Who'd waste food on something that old?" a woman jeered. Logan did not look at her. His gaze never left Hannah. The auctioneer cleared his throat. "Any bids?" Logan's voice came low and hard. What did her family get for putting her up here? Silence swallowed the square. Even cruelty knew shame. Hannah lifted her chin. Her voice came steady and clear. 1 bag of flour so they wouldn't starve this winter. Something dark passed across Logan's face. He reached into his coat and pulled out a leather pouch heavy with coin. He set it down slowly. "That's 3 months' wages," he said. "More than enough to cover whatever debt you think she owes." The crowd gasped. That kind of money could feed a family for half a year. Logan turned toward Hannah. For the first time in decades, she saw herself reflected in someone's eyes, not as a burden, but as a human being. "I'm Logan Harrison," he said. "I've got a ranch 15 miles south. I need help. I pay fair, but I'm not buying you." He paused, then added, "If you come with me, it's because you choose to. If you ever want to leave, I'll take you anywhere and give you enough to start fresh." Hannah's throat tightened. "Why me?" "Because everyone else sees you as too old," Logan said softly. "I see a survivor." The auctioneer shifted. "What about the contract? The years of service?" "There are no contracts," Logan said firmly. "She works for wages, same as anyone." He extended his hand. It was steady, sure. Hannah stared at it for a long moment. Then she placed her weathered hand in his. The Harrison Ranch stretched across golden valleys that breathed under the California sun. Hannah stood in the doorway of a small guest room, her chest tight. A real bed, a door with a lock on the inside, privacy, dignity. She had not known dignity in years. The next morning, Logan set coffee, bread and preserves on the table. "Figured we'd need something filling," he said. "Long day ahead." No orders, no cruelty. They worked side by side, fences, barn beams, dry creek lines. Hannah moved with the calm skill of someone who had worked a lifetime without rest. When they reached a collapsed fence, Logan lifted a post. "These weigh about 50 pounds, he warned. "Don't strain yourself." Hannah lifted 2 at once and walked on. Logan stared. "You'll hurt yourself." "I've carried heavier," she said. Anger flashed across his face, not at her, but at the life that had demanded such strength. "Your nephew worked you into the ground." "Yes," Hannah replied, "but now I know what I'm capable of." Weeks passed. The ranch changed. So did Hannah. Laughter returned to her life in small, quiet moments. The land responded to care. Hope replaced despair. One afternoon, resting beneath an oak, Logan handed her a canteen. "This place was dying," he said. "With you here, it's breathing again." She waited for cruelty to follow praise. It never came. "If you're willing," Logan continued, "I'd like to offer you more than wages. 2 years of work, and I'll give you a share of the profits. A real stake." Hannah's hand shook. "No one has ever offered me a share of anything." "You earned it," he said. That evening, he asked about her past. She told him about her husband, about raising her nephew, about being forgotten. "You deserved better," Logan said quietly. "Why are you kind to me?" she asked. His eyes grew distant. "I lost my wife and son to fever in 1 week. I know what alone feels like." She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. They were survivors. And neither of them noticed the way the wind shifted that night, or how the horizon seemed to hold its breath, as if something unseen was already moving toward the ranch. At dawn one morning, dust rose on the far edge of the valley. Hannah stood in the garden, her hands deep in the soil, when she felt it. Not sound, not sight. Just a tightening in her chest that told her trouble was coming. 5 riders appeared against the pale sky, moving fast. Too fast for neighbors. Too fast for friendly visits. Logan stepped out of the house, his face hardening the moment he saw them. He did not reach for his rifle yet, but his body went still, like a man bracing for impact. The riders pulled up near the barn, hooves tearing at dry ground. The lead man swung down from his horse. He was lean, sharp-eyed, with a smile that never reached his face. "Name's Garrett," he said. "Mr. Thornton sent us." Logan's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" Garrett glanced around the ranch, slow and deliberate. "This land." "Thornton's been generous. He'll buy it. Cheap, or fires start easy in dry seasons." Before Logan could answer, Hannah stepped forward. "There's a problem with your plan," she said calmly. Garrett turned, surprised. His eyes flicked over her, dismissive. "You think an old woman can stop us?" "I think threatening arson gets a man hanged in California," Hannah replied. "Violence leaves evidence. Fear makes noise." Garrett sneered. "You were sent to scare us." "I think you were sent to scare us," Hannah said. "Real power doesn't need riders." For a moment, the valley held its breath. Garrett spat into the dirt. "This isn't over." The riders mounted up and thundered away, dust trailing behind them like a warning. Logan exhaled slowly. That was either brave or foolish. "They didn't hurt us," Hannah said, though her hands trembled now. "That's what matters." But both of them knew something had changed. The days that followed felt heavier. The ranch still stood, the fences still held, but tension settled into the air, thick and unseen. Logan checked the horizon more often. Hannah noticed how his shoulders stayed tight, even at rest. They rode into town the next morning and spoke to the sheriff. The man listened in silence, chewing slowly, his eyes narrowing. He wrote the complaint down, his pen scratching hard against paper. "Thornton's been circling land like a vulture," he said. "You did right coming in. If he moves, he'll do it quieter now." Quieter did not mean safer. Back at the ranch, they worked harder. Logan repaired the barn roof himself, refusing help. Hannah tended the garden and animals, her hands steady even when her thoughts were not. At night she sat by the fire, listening to the wood crack, wondering how long peace ever lasted for people like them. One evening, Logan broke the silence. "You should leave for a while." Hannah looked up sharply. "Just until things cool down," he said. "Thornton won't risk trouble with you gone." She stood. Her back was straight. "I didn't survive 55 years to run now," she said. "This is my home." Logan searched her face, then nodded. "All right, then we face it together." A week passed, then 2. On a warm afternoon, Hannah climbed into the barn loft to check the hay. The boards creaked beneath her boots. She took one step, then another. The plank gave way. Her body dropped into open space. Air rushed from her lungs as she swung, fingers clawing for something solid. At the last second, her hands caught a beam. Splinters tore into her palms. "Hannah!" Logan's scream ripped through the barn. He raced up the ladder, his face drained of color. He flattened himself against the loft floor, reaching for her wrists. "I've got you," he said, his voice shaking. "I've got you." Her arms burned as he hauled her up inch by inch. When she collapsed onto solid wood, her breath came in harsh gasps. Logan pulled her into his arms, holding her like she might disappear if he let go. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. "I can't lose you." She felt his hands trembling. His fear poured into her like heat. "You matter to me," he said finally. "More than I can explain." Hannah did not pull away. "You matter to me, too." The words settled between them, heavy and true. Days later, Logan asked her to walk with him to the creek. The water ran low, sunlight flashing off stone. He stopped beneath the oak where they had rested before. "I want you to stay," he said, "not just as help, as family." Her heart beat loud in her ears. "I know life has taken more from you than it ever gave," he continued, "but if you'll have me, I want a life with you." She looked at this man who saw her strength, not her age. "Yes," she said, "I will." They did not rush. They worked. They talked. They built trust plank by plank. Then winter crept in early. One night, a knock came at the door. Logan reached for his rifle. Hannah stood behind him as he opened it. A young woman collapsed into the doorway, snow clinging to her hair. "Please," she whispered, "help me." Her name was Sarah. She was running from Thornton. He had threatened her family. Tried to force her into his service. Logan let her in without question. Hannah wrapped her in blankets, fed her soup, spoke softly until the girl stopped shaking. "This ends now," Logan said. This time, he brought the newspaper into it. Sarah told her story. Others came forward. The sheriff returned with warrants. Thornton was dragged from his ranch screaming threats. "You'll lose everything," he shouted at Hannah. Logan stood beside her, his hand firm around hers. "No," he said. "We'll be just fine." But as the snow began to fall heavier outside and the wind howled against the walls, Hannah felt a quiet truth settle in her bones. Peace had been won, but life always asked for its price, and the greatest test was still waiting just ahead. Winter hit hard that year. Snow buried the fields and pressed against the walls like a living thing. The creek froze at the edges, and the wind howled through the valley at night. Still, inside the house, warmth lived, not just from the fire, but from something deeper. Sarah stayed on the ranch. She found her place quietly, never asking for more than she was given, never shrinking from work. Hannah saw herself in the young woman's guarded eyes and steady hands. "You don't have to be loud to be strong," Hannah told her one afternoon as they baked bread together. Sarah nodded, storing the words like treasure. Logan worked harder than ever. He fixed what needed fixing and stood watch when the nights grew uneasy. He never treated Hannah like she was fragile. He listened. He trusted her judgment. That mattered more than any promise. One evening, Logan spread papers across the table. "This is your share," he said. Hannah stared at the numbers, her breath catching. Real ownership, real proof that her work mattered. "I never thought I'd see this," she whispered. "You built this with me," Logan said simply. As winter deepened, fear sometimes crept in during the quiet hours. Hannah would wake in the dark, her chest tight, haunted by the thought that something so good could still be taken away. Logan always felt it. He would reach for her hand without opening his eyes. "You're not alone," he reminded her. Not ever again. The baby came in February during a cold snap that turned breath into smoke indoors. The doctor arrived just before dawn. Sarah heated water. Logan paced until Hannah cried out, then knelt beside the bed, gripping her hand. Pain came in waves, hard and unforgiving. Hannah bore it the same way she had borne life. With grit, with quiet resolve. When the final cry broke the air, sharp and alive, Logan collapsed into tears. "It's a boy," the doctor said. Logan held the tiny, squirming life with hands that once feared touching anything fragile. "He's perfect," he whispered. Hannah watched, exhausted and glowing. "What shall we call him?" "Samuel," Logan said. "After my father." "Samuel Harrison," Hannah repeated softly. Sarah stepped closer, eyes wet. "May I hold him?" "Of course," Hannah said. "You're his sister now." In that moment, Hannah understood what family truly meant, not blood that abandons. Not duty without love, but choice, care, staying. Spring came slow but sure. Grass pushed through soil in soft green waves. The ranch breathed again. News traveled fast in small towns. People who once laughed at the auction now tipped their hats when Hannah passed. Some looked ashamed. Others looked unsure how to face a woman who had survived what they helped create. Logan never let her walk behind him, never ahead either, always beside. At the harvest festival, lanterns glowed warm against the night. Hannah stood with Samuel in her arms, Logan's hand steady at her back. "This is my wife," Logan said when the murmurs rose. "She saved my ranch. She saved my life." Applause spread, slow at first, then strong. Later, under the stars, Logan placed a simple silver bracelet on Hannah's wrist. It was carved with 3 shapes: a mountain, a barn, a woman standing tall. "You were never too old," he said. "You were always exactly right." Hannah leaned into him, tears shining. Years later, she would sit on that same porch, watching her son run across fields she helped save. She would think of the woman she once was, standing barefoot on a wooden block, waiting to be discarded. And she would know the truth. She was never too old for love. She was never too old for purpose. She was never too old to matter. She was exactly where she belonged,